What's really good? What's really good? What's really good? It is Tuesday night. Actually, the draft is Wednesday. I'm a day ahead, but it's Tuesday night. So we're live with the Sanchez Show. As always, I'm your host, Eric Sanchez, aka Legend of Two Games. As I mentioned, the NBA draft is tomorrow. Whenever I want to discuss draft, I got to call in a pros pro. I got to call in, in my opinion, one of the top tier guys of talking basketball and in this media space, one of the best podcasters and media guys in the basketball space. My main man, Andrew Salop, host of Combos Court. Drew, how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. We've been doing this for years, bro. So it's always great talking basketball with you.
Yeah, whenever the draft gets around the corner, I definitely make sure I reach out to you, see what you got going on. And you've been a very busy man. I salute you because not only Combos Court, you got the other podcast going on right now. He's with us.
Yeah,
I saw you doing like a live form discussion recently when you posted the clip on that.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
you debating guys that I don't. To me, seeing the clips, I don't think these guys can spar with you, but you handling them guys.
I'm a little more aggressive because I'm from a certain era in New York, man. So yeah, it's a little different when I start talking. But then I've been doing so many shows over the course of time that the wit is quick, so I can get right to it.
Yeah, I like that for you though, because like I said, I think again, I've told
And
you this
shouts to Bleacher Report where I did that. Shouts to Bleacher Report.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Shout out Bleacher
yeah.
Report. I've told you this before. I'm a fan of your work, not only because we have a rapport, but I do truly feel that you are one of the better basketball minds in this space because you're not doing anything for clickbait. This is true, genuine insight and knowledge of the game that you're giving us, as opposed to a lot of guys who will just use clickbait and they'll try to use regurgitated information to get people to follow. You're giving us insight that we need to know as basketball fans. So that's why I appreciate it. All right.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. He's with us. Some would argue that that's actually a little clickbaity because we go heavy debate. We talk about the topics that everybody wants to hear about. But I do think like the Combos Court side of things has stayed true, and it's basically to what you're saying. It's more like in-depth basketball conversation. So I'm trying to get the best of both worlds at this point, but I'm always down for an insightful basketball conversation for sure.
Right. Now, before we get into the conversation, I want to remind everybody, make sure you are subscribed to the Sanchez Show. We normally go live every Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. Obviously, we're doing a Tuesday night, the night before the NBA draft. You can catch us over on YouTube, Facebook, and we're on Instagram Live. And also make sure you are followed to and subscribed to Combos Court, streaming across all major platforms. Trust me, you guys will not be disappointed by the content that he's providing for you guys over there. Now, we got the NBA draft tomorrow, but we've had a lot of trades over the last couple of days. And then we had the NBA finals that just wrapped up a couple of nights ago. Let's start with the NBA finals and then we'll progress from there. Combo, I want to get your thoughts on the series. Oklahoma City on a great season, best record overall, 68-win season now, NBA champions. Shai Gilgeous, one of the historic seasons of all time. Finals MVP, regular season MVP, scoring champion. He's 26 years old. What's your overall takeaway from this NBA Finals? What were your thoughts in the series? And how do you see both these teams progressing? Obviously, we got Indiana, another part of the discussion with the injury they've got to deal with.
You got to give the congrats to OKC, the youngest team to ever do it. So, I appreciate what they did. I would say that I think the Pacers play a better brand of basketball than OKC did. I felt OKC leaned on SGA's ISO scoring, and there was more player movement and ball movement coming from the Pacers side of things. And the Pacers had a magical run, but it was so devastating when Haliburton went down there in that last game. And it was so sad because, as he said, he worked his whole life to get here. They had a magical season. They had a magical playoff run, and it ended like that. Shouts to OKC, but I really wish Haliburton could have stayed healthy through that game 7 and speedy recovery to him.
Absolutely. I 1000% agree. And I hate the fact that he, had that type of injury in that moment. He came out aggressive. He came out hot in that game. And it looked like it was going to give us an instant classic of the Pacers being the underdog on the road. Heavy underdogs to start the series. So I give them a lot of respect for doing what a lot of people didn't think. Most people had that as a gentleman's sweep. I thought OKC would win it in 6. They pushed it to 7. And I thought they had a legitimate chance to win. Rick Carlisle as a coach, what did you think of him in the series? Because I thought he did a great job. And again, he took advantage of what matchups he could. He made adjustments. I thought the defense got better as the series went on. What were your thoughts on Rick Carlisle in the series?
I've been talking about Rick Carlisle for a while now because the way he has embraced the modern style of basketball, which we all know Tibbs didn't really do, and it's part of the reason he's out the door. the game has passed Tibbs by a little bit. That's a whole other debacle we might talk about later with the Knicks coaching search.
You know, I got my Knicks gear on. We're going to talk about the Knicks coaching search, and we'll tie the Pacers into the Eastern Conference part of the conversation a little later.
Yeah. So with Carlisle, even back when he was coaching the Mavs, he was talking about the value of a post-up when it comes to Porzingis, and there's not a lot of value in that in the modern NBA. So he was starting to get it back then. But with the Mavs, he used to not have the same player movement and ball movement that he has now, because he always looks through the game from the eyes of his team's best player. And with Luka, I think he learned a lot from his experience with Luka, but I think he might have overcoached Luka at times. With Halliburton, he let Halliburton do what he does. He let the team play the style that they should be playing, which is ball movement, player movement, fast pace, get up threes. And then they added Pascal Siakam, the guy who could get in the mid-range and knock down a shot in the playoffs, who was a perfect fit. So I love that Rick Carlisle embraced modern basketball, and we saw there was a huge payoff in this playoff run and throughout the course of the regular season.
Yeah, I thought Carlisle's done a great job, and I like that you referenced Dallas, because I think he learned something from there. There was rumors that him and Luka didn't really get along when he left there, and you can see the relationship and how Halliburton has really developed in Indiana. So we're going to move on from the NBA Finals. We're going to get into some of these trades. We're going to circle back to the Pacers. We got to talk about the state of the Eastern Conference now as we talk about the Knicks need a new coach, and with the injuries in the East, things are different. Boston has made a lot of trades, but we're going to start with the biggest trade of this past week. Kevin Durant. It happened as he was at Fanatics Fest, finding out the news, or maybe he already knew. Shout out to my brother, Will Gordon. I see you in the comments section, Will. And anybody who's on Instagram, if you type in a question or comment, give me a moment, because I'm switching back and forth to see the comments on that side as well. But Kevin Durant, he finds out the trade. He's going to Houston for the 10th pick in tomorrow's draft, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, and a bunch of second-round picks. Let's start with the most obvious side of the trade. Kevin Durant going to Houston. I personally love the fit. I think they have the right leadership with their head coach there. I like that they didn't give up much of their youth. They still have all their players moving forward. Obviously, Sengun, Tari Eason, Amen Thompson, Jabari Smith. They keep their veteran in Van Fleet. What are your thoughts on the trade, and how do you think this works out for Kevin Durant there?
I mean, I agree with you. I think it's a great trade for the Houston Rockets. They needed a go-to guy desperately. And what better go-to guy is there than Kevin Durant, one of the greatest scorers in NBA history. We all know his resume, one of the greatest players in NBA history. And they gave up Jalen Green, but I do think there was some redundancy in skill set when it comes to Jalen and some of their other younger players. It also tells me that there's a lot of belief when it comes to Cam Whitmore and Reed Shepherd, who haven't got a lot of opportunity yet, but I believe are future all-stars in this league. And I think we're going to see a lot of that this season with Kevin Durant being their go-to guy.
Out of all the young guys, I forgot to mention Reed Shepherd, who, again, was their high lottery pick last year, but didn't get much playing time because they have so much young talent there. But which one of these young guys do you think will benefit the most from Kevin Durant being there and his spacing that he's going to create?
Yeah, Reed Shepherd, once he gets minutes, because he's such a great passer. He can play up and down. He can find Kevin Durant for three. I think that's a great 1-2 punch, Kevin Durant and Reed Shepherd. Reed Shepherd, I'm telling you, he might be the next Steve Nash.
You think that highly of him?
Yeah, remember Nash started out kind of slow in the NBA?
Yeah, his early stints. But, I mean, to be fair, if we want to make a comparison, it was similar. When he landed in Phoenix to start out, he was kind of buried on the bench. Jason Kidd was already there at that time.
Right.
And he kind of was buried for a little bit before he was able to get some playing time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really high on Reed Shepherd. Love his game. He was a 40% three-point. I think he was actually a 50% three-point shooter in college, if I'm not mistaken. But, I mean, he's so efficient. He has great craft. He's a better athlete than you might think. And I think he's going to be a great point guard in this league, a modern point guard for years to come. And Cam Whitmore, I mean, he's a bucket, and he's super confident. And I think he's going to be a great player as well. So, I mean, Jabari, that's going to be an interesting fit. Alperen Şengün makes everybody better. He's like the baby Jokic. Yeah. And, Fred, it's a release valve for Fred too, right? He's going to be finding KD for threes, and KD's going to be the guy when the shot clock's going down and ending game situations. He's going to get that basketball. He's going to go to work, and he is the best scorer, one of the best scorers in NBA history. So he's really going to help this team. Yeah.
Now, on the flip side of that, Phoenix, I think they did the best they could for Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant at 37 years old with 1 year left on his deal. Now, we know Houston's probably going to extend him and kind of extend their window with Kevin Durant. But from Houston's perspective, they're so deep in this apron, second apron, tax penalties. To be able to get a 10th pick in this draft, which I think is a deep draft, and I know you're going to give us your opinion on it as we continue to talk tonight, but to get the 10th pick, to get Dillon Brooks, who I think has value, whether he's on their team or they decide to flip him. He's at $20 million, so it's a manageable contract that you can move and get other pieces if necessary. What do you think for Phoenix? How do they move forward going into tomorrow's draft? Because it looks like they're hitting reset. Do you think Booker's will become available at some point? What do they do with Bradley Beal? I know he has the no trade clause, but what do you think Phoenix does now after moving on from Kevin Durant?
I mean, I think they want to move forward with Booker. Beal is a tough one because of the no trade clause, but I think if you give Beal a great situation, he'll waive that. I really don't know where this team is, to be honest, but Dillon Brooks is a guy that can help almost every NBA team with his ability to muck it up on the defensive side, and he's become a better shooter over the years, and every good team needs a player like Dillon Brooks. So I like that pickup for basically any team. I mean, I want, as a basketball player, I want Dillon Brooks as a teammate, and Jalen Green has crazy upside still. One of the fastest, quickest first steps in the league, super athletic, could get his shot off effortlessly whenever he wants. He has to work on thinking the game a little bit better, but I mean, that guy is super talented, and I thought that was a good pickup. And, you know, they had so much youth and talent, it was okay for Houston to give that up, but I think it's also a good addition for the Phoenix Suns if they want to restart.
My fault, Combo. For Houston, you mentioned it being redundant. I think you're basically swapping out Jalen Green minutes for Kevin Durant.
Right.
Because you already have Dillon Brooks' replacement there with Tari Eason.
Exactly.
So, you know,
and then you got the Thompson twins that could pick up a lot of that defensive, you know.
Right. You got a men already there. You got Tari who was waiting, and now this also opens up minutes, like you said, for Cam Whitmore and Reed Shepherd. So they had the replacements in the loop already. It was just a matter of, like you said, of finding the guy. This was a team that was super young last year, still had the second best record in the West. We know Ime has the ability to coach you up to get you to a finals. They just needed the guy, the finisher. That's what Kevin Durant becomes for them right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, look, they were thinking about Jimmy Butler, which wouldn't have been a terrible move because he is the go-to type player. But I think it was better that they waited and they got Kevin Durant.
Shout out to Will Gordon. He said Houston wins the trade, but he said Phoenix needs to tell Bradley Beal that the NBA folded. There's no more basketball. I mean, that'll be one way to keep him off the court. But the no trade is the thing that hinders him the most at this point. Like you said, what do you think that perfect situation would be? Do you think it would be Miami if Miami's willing to deal?
Nah, I don't know what.
I
like Miami. Like I have friends on that coaching staff. I love Miami. I don't know what they're doing right now, though. I mean, I don't know if it's a rebuild. I don't know if they're not going to contend right now. Not because of, and I have great belief in the coaching there, but they just don't have the talent right now to contend. So I think, I don't know what's going to happen there, but maybe the Lakers. Why not? I think the Lakers would be good.
The Lakers have to give up, though.
If they could somehow figure out a way to get, I guess I'm kind of ignoring your question, but if they could figure out a way to get a good rim running big that's a rim protector and a Bradley Beal somehow, I don't know how they would do it, but I mean, they'd be legit again.
Well, I mentioned it yesterday on the Real Fans Real Talk Live. The rim running big is their number one necessity. They need that guy for Luka. I'm sure they regret not doing the Mark Williams deal. Whatever their medical staff thought they found, because Mark Williams was fine.
That was not a good move. I mean, he was playing after it, so how bad was it? Yeah.
Right. But that's the number one thing they need. And then the next thing they need is spacing. They need a shooter on the floor. Braun is holding that whole situation up. No matter how we feel about LeBron James, I think LeBron James is at a point where he's either got to take a significant pay cut or he's got to move on, because the Lakers, there's no way they can build this if LeBron is still going to eat up that much of the cap.
I mean, he's still LeBron, though.
Absolutely. But we know the future is Luka.
Yeah. I don't know. I think you have to find, I mean, we both said it, you have to find a rim running big. The kid Maluak from Duke would really help them right now. I don't know how they get that draft pick, but he's going to be a lottery pick. Like they need a guy like that. And I think you run it back with Luka and LeBron. You see what happens, you know. I think you try one more year. Give Luka, if you will, a full year together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Two other trades went down within the last 24 hours, both involving Boston. Boston moves Drew Holiday to Portland for Anthony Simons. which I like that deal a lot. And then the 3-team trade just went down within the last like 30 to 40 minutes with overall Kristaps Porzingis ended up in Atlanta. Boston gets back George Niang in a second-round pick. The ultimate goal of all this was Boston was trying to get underneath that second apron, which they were able to do. They saved about $180 million in tax money they would have had to pay out. But on the court, how do you think these moves help the Celtics going into a season where they expect to probably have Tatum or miss Tatum for 80% of the season at least?
I mean, Anthony Simons, super talented guy, could space the floor, really athletic. He's very different from Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday is more of a high IQ, does it all, versatile type player. And Anthony Simons is more of that AAU style, get in my bag and get a jump shot up. But he's excellent shooter, and he's super athletic, and he's very talented, and he's younger. So it's somebody you could build with. Maybe when Jason Tatum comes back, he's a guy that could space the floor because he could really shoot the basketball. I like that move for the Celtics because at the end of the day, they got to offload some of those contracts. And then I like the Porzingis and Trey. I mean, Porzingis is going to have a chance to hoop if he's healthy. He's probably going to get more minutes. He's going to be a pick and pop target for Trey. He's going to be a lob threat target for Trey. And I want to see him hoop this year. I think he's an underrated role player still, but the health is always a concern with him.
The health obviously is the main thing. If he's healthy, we know what type of impact he can make.
Yeah.
That could be a scary good team, though, if he's healthy.
100%.
Right?
He's a perfect fit for the idea of Porzingis is a perfect fit for Trey. I mean, Trey is one of the Trey is Dyson too. Trey is one of the best passers in basketball. So, and Porzingis could finish plays.
And with Johnson and Daniels, you have the athletes on the perimeter now.
Right.
So it could be a scary team. For Boston, I want to ask you, Anthony Simons, I like his game. He'll start, obviously. Do you think ultimately his role there will turn into being a six-man once Tatum is back, or do you see him starting alongside Derek White long-term there? Or I would say for the next 2 to 3 seasons.
Yeah, I think he's a starting NBA player, but I'm not mad at that role, right? Can he maybe one day become the next Lou Williams or Jamal Crawford, right? Who knows? Maybe he could become that guy on a championship team. But I think for most NBA teams, he's a starting level player. So
I do too.
Yeah.
No, that's not to knock his game. I think he is a starting level.
Right. Like I'm not like we can't knock Lou Williams and Jamal Crawford. It's not to knock his game. I do think that I see what you're saying there because he could give you scoring punch off the bench, right? And he'd probably be better than most of the other six-mans in the league. But I think he could start as well. I think you could go either way with it.
Yeah. When I heard the trade, that's my immediate thought. I was thinking he'd be a great starter for them, but I think his role ultimately will be as the six-man because when Tatum comes back, you're still probably going to want a defensive guard next to Derek White.
I mean, Payton Pritchard's also still on a great contract. Maybe they could retain him over time. I mean, he's a great six-man too. Right. So, yeah.
True. Horford. You think Al Horford goes back to Boston, or does he's going to be on the market this year? Obviously, he's approaching 40 years old. Do they bring him back, or do they continue to slash money and Horford seeks playing time elsewhere?
The Knicks need to sign him.
I've heard that. I've heard we would love to bring him in to have a mentor, Karl Anthony Towns. He also becomes the insurance policy if Mitchell Robinson can't play more than 40 games during the regular season, which has been an issue.
He also spaces the floor a lot better than Mitch too. Yeah,
space the floor, good passing.
Yeah,
I would be okay with Horford. For the Knicks, since we mentioned the Knicks, let's get to it. We know about the coaching search. For the Knicks, my goal, I want us to get a veteran point guard off the bench. Malcolm Brogdon, to me, is my number one guy.
Yeah,
that's why I would target.
I always loved Brogdon. Yeah, I think Brogdon would help them tremendously. Yeah,
I would love a guy like that can come off the bench, but also can play alongside Jalen Brunson. But with the Knicks coaching search, what are you hearing out there? What do you think happens ultimately? I know they're still interviewing guys. Taylor Jenkins got interviewed this week. There's no rush to hire a coach because they don't have a first-round pick anyway. But how do you think this plays out?
Well, it hasn't been playing out very well, and the Knicks don't look too good throughout the course of this coaching search. I guess it's Mike Brown and Taylor Jenkins right now. I like the idea of Mike Brown because he did do some interesting things with the Sacramento Kings. I was talking about Rick Carlisle embracing modern basketball. I think he did some of that with the Sacramento Kings at point, but that didn't end too well. And Taylor Jenkins, I mean, I think he's a good coach, but I don't know how much of an upgrade those guys are from Tibbs, but they'll also be a new voice, which is really important as well. I think the guys who are actually better coaches than Tibbs are on other teams, and the Knicks asked if they could talk with them, and I heard they were hung up on a whole bunch of times. So the Knicks didn't really have a plan. But to be fair, they couldn't have had a plan because you can't reach out to all the coaches
Right.
during a playoff run because it could get back to Tibbs. What if they make the finals and it gets back to Tibbs that they've been reaching out to every coach? So you kind of got to keep it on the hush. They knew they were going to do it, but they couldn't reach out to a whole bunch of people during a Knicks playoff run. So it's a unique situation. I always thought Tibbs was on the hot seat, but I thought the timing was a little bit weird.
The timing was bad. And the
Yeah.
Knicks, I thought, handled that wrong because they had decided to fire him right after the exit interviews. And I thought at that time, the emotions are raw. You just got bumped in the Eastern Conference Finals. You know, everybody's going to be upset and everybody's going to think we could have done better. They probably should have waited it out. They probably should have put some feelers out there and see what possibilities. Now, there's rumors circulating that Jason Kidd did want the job, still wants the job, but Dallas obviously is not going to let him out of that contract. So that happens that way. I don't understand why Mike Malone hasn't been interviewed yet, though. I thought when the news broke that Tibbs was fired, Mike Malone was going to be at the top of their list.
The top of my list was Jay Wright and Mike Malone first.
Well, Jay Wright, they offered him the job 5 years ago when Tibbs took the job, and Jay Wright turned it down then. So I wasn't too sure Jay Wright would be interested now anyway.
Jay Wright has been retired for that long, or they tried to get him out of Villanova?
They tried to get him out of Villanova.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, I guess this would be a different situation because he hasn't been coaching for a few years. Maybe he had the itch. That's what I was thinking, you know?
Maybe.
But Mike Malone would have been my first choice. But, you know, shouts to my guy CP, Knicks Fan TV. He said that there was no interest ever in Mike Malone. He has great insight with the Knicks organization. Do I agree with that? I mean, I don't know why the Knicks don't have.
I don't understand it either.
Yeah.
So whoever comes in for the Knicks, right? Because there aren't many future assets. This is the team. You're locked into this team. We know that. Whoever you bring in, one has got to have a strength and development and somebody who can maximize the offensive potential of Cat and Brunson. So to me, I don't understand why it wouldn't be Mike Malone.
Right. I mean, he has a lot of experience with Jamal Jokic and Jamal Jokic, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. Yeah. Oh, well, I guess it's one person. Yeah, Jamal Jokic. How about that? I made it a duo. You saw what I did there? So, I mean, yeah, you could say Jokic is the best player in the world, and that makes it easy, but he does have experience with his two best players being one big, one guard, and they were going, you know, big, small pick and roll, small, big pick and roll at the end of the games. Like maybe he could implement some of that with Cat and Brunson because at times it felt like those two guys were their own entity and they weren't really playing off of each other. And it'd be nice to see them play off of each other more.
I agree. That's why I thought he would be the guy. But if they're saying he's not, then I guess it's not. Like I said, as of right now, they've only interviewed two candidates. Shout out to School B, because School B, I saw he put up a post earlier where he said there was interest from Jason Kidd going to the Knicks, but obviously Dallas is not going to allow him to interview.
Yeah, he's tapped in with that family, so he would know.
Yeah, he basically said unless Kidd forces his way out, Dallas is not going to allow him or grant him the permission to interview. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe the Knicks thought they had a chance, and Dallas said, no, we're not going to let it happen. Speaking of Dallas, I mean, we might as well get into the draft. They got the number 1 pick. It's Cooper Flag, right?
Oh,
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
There's
they already announced it.
I was about to say, there's no surprises there, right?
All
right. We know it's Cooper Flag. What are your thoughts on Cooper Flag? Give me a player comp for Cooper Flag, and how do you think his first year in Dallas will go?
LeBron James.
You got that high.
I was
about to say, I think that's a reach, but you tell me that's what you got.
Nah, not LeBron. I think he's a smaller version of Kevin Garnett.
Okay.
He's a two-way player, great passer, could score the basketball, elite athlete, rebounds really well. I think he's a do-it-all type point forward like Kevin Garnett was. Kevin Garnett has a few inches on him, though, so that's the biggest difference. But there's not a lot of great comps for him. I don't like the Tatum comps because I feel like he leans more on feel, Cooper does, and Tatum leans more on skill. I don't really see it. I mean, like, Tatum at the end of the day is an ISO scorer. That's not really what Cooper is. It's probably his biggest weakness, which he showed signs of improvement in that area, but I just don't see the comp unless it's just two Duke players. That's the only thing I see in common with those two. So I think he's a smaller Kevin Garnett.
Okay. And him going to Dallas, how do you like to fit with AD and Kyrie?
I mean, Cooper fits with any team, I think.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Eddie Bailey, what's going on with this situation? The reports came out that he's refused workouts with certain teams. Going into this draft and coming out of the college season, he was projected to be the number 3 pick. Some people still have him that high. Some people think he might drop a little bit and still stay top 6, top 7. What's your feel for it at this point?
Well, if he stays top 7, that's still sliding because everybody had him consensus top 3 for most of the year. But it's not a good look that he's asking teams to pay him that wants to interview him. So that's not a good look. But I mean, the guy's super talented. He could really score the basketball in ISO situations, super athletic. Um, do you believe he's a star is the biggest question because he has a really high upside, but I also believe his floor isn't as high as some of the other guys because he's going to have to be a go-to guy for him to succeed, I believe. I don't know what his NBA role is outside of being a star. So he's an interesting swing for the fences type player.
So you expect him to be a guy who's going to have to be a high usage guy to have a high impact?
That's what I think. Like, I don't see him. He doesn't really catch and shoot. He doesn't really play off the ball much. He likes the basketball. He's actually not too bad defensively, but he doesn't really pass the basketball much. Like, he doesn't really read the game.
So let me ask you, right? You got the Sixers at 3, you got Charlotte at 4, you got Utah at 5, you got Washington at 6. Washington made a trade earlier today too. CJ McCollum, they landed him from the Pelicans. Jordan Poole going back the other way, and there's some pick swaps in there as well. But out of those teams from 3 through 7, where do you think his best fit would be? Because if you're talking Philly has Maxey already, right?
For Ace Bailey?
Yeah, for Ace Bailey. Philly has Maxey. They like McCain from last year. Obviously, they still got him beating Paul George. Charlotte has LaMelo. Maybe Utah because they don't have
he seems like a Charlotte guy.
Him, LaMelo, and Brandon Miller.
He seems like he seems like a guy that would go to Charlotte. I don't know if that's good or bad.
I mean, if Charlotte takes him, I think it's a bad selection from Charlotte.
Yeah,
I just don't think.
I love Brandon Miller's game. By the way, I think
I like Brandon Miller's game. I like LaMelo. Yeah. I just don't think Ace Bailey on the surface people will like it because they'll say, oh well, he was projected to be a top 3 pick, but just the fit wise would make no sense.
So what are the next 3 teams?
Utah, Washington, Pelicans.
I like Washington. I think they got some good young process. I think they actually got an underrated rebuild going on there. They have some, Sarr and those guys are playing pretty well. I think Ace Bailey would get the opportunity to be a go-to guy there, and we could see what he could do. I don't mind the Wizards.
I was going to say I think the Wizards make the most sense.
Yeah. Just give him the basketball, see what he could. Give him the keys.
Right.
Just give him the keys.
Right.
See what happens.
Harper, his teammate at Rutgers, projected to be number 2. A lot of people are very high on him. Do you have him as high as some people project him? Because the early reports are the Spurs weren't even interested in fielding trades for that number 2 pick. They view him that highly already. Do you view him that way? Do you think he has the potential to be the best guy in this draft 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
The best guy? No.
I'm just saying, does he have that type of potential? I'm not saying he will be. Do you think he has that type of potential?
He definitely has star potential. I don't think he'll be better than Cooper. But look, he's great in the pick and roll. He's very crafty. He's like a super D'Angelo Russell. Let's say if D'Angelo Russell was a star.
If D'Angelo Russell was a star, who would he be?
He'd be super D'Angelo Russell.
I know, but I'm trying to think of a lefty point guard comparison that you can say, yeah, if D'Angelo
I'm telling you, it's Harper.
Okay.
That's him.
So Dylan Harper is who D'Angelo Russell thinks he is.
Yes.
Fair enough. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. All right. Another guard that I like in the draft, Trey Johnson out of Texas.
What do
you think of the guy?
Yeah. He's a great shooter. It's going to be interesting to see who goes first between him and Edgecombe. If you want to lean towards shooting, you go with Johnson. If you want to lean towards athleticism and defense, you go with Edgecombe. I like Trey. I think he's a great shooter. You got to probably get a little bit stronger for the NBA game, but I think he's going to be a good NBA player.
Who do you think has the higher upside between him and Edgecombe?
Edgecombe probably has the higher upside because of that athleticism. And if he has the ability to improve his shooting, which was streaky this year, I think he has a higher upside.
A lot of people in the chat yesterday, and a lot of people in some of the lives we've done recently, they're really high on Jeremiah Fears. What do you think of the guy? A little bit of an undersized guard, but how do you think his game translates to the next level?
I think it's gonna be tough in the playoffs with him because I think he's a guy that could get targeted and hunted. Can you guard everyone? Can you guard anyone? Is always the question, right? Actually, can you guard anyone is the first question. Can you guard everyone is the second question. And then the third question is, can you shoot? How does he answer those questions for you?
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I think he's undersized. I think playing on a team or any team that has expectations of making a deep playoff run, similar to what you saw with the Knicks and Jalen Brunson. He's going to get targeted. He becomes a liability on that end. And at 6'1", 6'2", I mean, you got to be a lights-out offensive player to really survive at the NBA level. Right. You can't be one of these streaky guys. You got to be a consistently good offensive guy because you're going to always be a liability on the court.
Yeah, I'm with you. So there's a lot of guys I probably draft ahead of him.
Yeah.
You know?
He's projected to be somewhere in the range of 8 to 12.
What are those teams? 8 to 12?
So you're talking, we said Utah's at 5, Pelicans 7, Nets 8. I'm sorry. Yeah, Nets 8, Toronto 9, Phoenix 10, Portland 11.
Yeah. Like Derek Queen might go in that area. You know.
So I wanted to ask you about Derek Queen because there's a guard-heavy draft, you know, in terms of the lottery, of course. Derek Queen, I'm down here in the D.C. area. He got a lot of love in the Maryland, D.C. area. Had a great tournament run. Do you think that tournament run bumps him up a little bit? How do you see his game overall? He's listed. He plays bigger than what he looked, or what he measured, I should say, because they have him measured at 6'9". When I saw him during the tournament, I really thought he was more like 6'10", 6'11", big.
Yeah.
They have him at 6'9". How do you think his game translates to that next level?
I think it translates well, especially maybe if he loses a little bit weight and can play the 3-4 because he's so
super
skilled.
Young.
Yeah, he's super young. He's so skilled, super crafty, great feel, great passer, great touch around the rim. I like him in the NBA. I think he's just like a really good basketball player, you know? Like he's one, like, you know how Kyle Anderson is, like, I'm not saying they're the same player, but just like
super high IQ.
Yeah, just like a really good basketball player. Always makes the right decisions, always makes the right reads. They were calling him Baby Jokic for a reason. I don't know who called him that, but he got great feel for the game, and I love his game. I don't think he's a center in the NBA because of what you're saying. Like he's only 6'9", but I do think he could play the 3-4 in the modern NBA. Defensively will be the issue, right? Can he slide his feet?
Correct.
Right? Can he close out? Can he make the right reads on the defense side? But offensively, he's going to be fine.
Yeah, I think offensively he'll figure it out. Like I said, he's very skilled for his age.
Yeah,
it's gonna be.
You can't teach what he has, like that feel for basketball. Yeah,
right. I think for him, it's really gonna be about fit. It's gonna be about fit. It's gonna be about the team that's around him. Because, like I said, he's gonna probably have to play the 4.
Right.
But with the modern NBA, a lot of these 4s are very fast and athletic. You know, it's the spacing of the game now is different. So 6'9", but not being able to play the 5, having to play the 4 could get very tricky for him. Before we continue, I want to remind everybody, make sure you are subscribed to the Sanchez Show. And if you haven't already, make sure you go over and subscribe to Combos Court, streaming across all major platforms. We're talking NBA draft tonight. Tomorrow is the NBA draft. Will Gordon and myself will be live at 7:30 p.m. to talk about the draft and any other topic that comes up as well. Again, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're tuned in. We're live every Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. over on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Combo, let's get back to it, though. You played overseas.
Mm-hmm.
And in the past, we've had a lot of foreign influence in these drafts. But in this current lottery, we're only looking at a couple guys coming over from France. Do you think maybe just the American young guys are that good this year? The draft is that deep? Or you just feel maybe this wasn't one of those big years for foreign players?
Well, there's one foreign player that I think is going to be really good, but he played at BYU, and that's Yegor Demin. So there are international players, but I think that NIL money is attracting some of them to play here in the States. So I think that's that's what I think is happening. But yeah, you know how it is, man. Like the March Madness bump is real, right? It's some of the guys aren't right in front of some of the scouts' faces right now. They're still playing games,
right?
I mean, like, so it's tough. It's a tough eval for some, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's been a good year for the States.
I heard you on a recent panel that you were on where you were talking about the conditioning and player development that takes place overseas.
Right. I
want you to elaborate a little bit more on that. Like being over there and seeing the way players are treated, players are handled, players are developed. Speak to the difference because I've been a big person against AAU. I think AAU is destroying the game of basketball, youth basketball. So talk about the difference from what you've been seeing over there or when you were over there compared to what goes on here stateside.
Yeah, I think they do a better job of getting better at the sport of basketball, and we do a better job of getting better at skill development. Like a lot of what we do in our skill development doesn't translate to the game like they do overseas. Also overseas, as I talked about in that clip, they implement skill development with the conditioning, and you're not just running around for no reason, like line drills, 17s. Everything is to get better at the game of basketball. And I think they do a good job of developing feel overseas. And you see a lot of these players coming from abroad have elite feel. A lot of them actually play soccer as well, so that helps with spacing and understanding different sports and multi-sport athletes. There's a lot of studies on that really that helps your development in whatever sport, in whatever other sports you're playing. So those are some of the main differences I'm seeing between overseas and here. And then, yeah, to your point, the AAU style of basketball is just a lot of ISO, one-on-one, and not really reading the game and playing the game the right way.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I saw the clip, but I just wanted to get you to elaborate on it a little bit more.
Yeah.
What was that panel you were on as well? Because I've just seen little clips from it.
So yeah, that was a panel about playing overseas at Rockefeller Center at a venue called Hero, a really cool venue at Rockefeller Center. So it was cool to be able to get the opportunity to speak there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's get into a little bit more draft talk. Let's see what we got right here. We talked about Toronto. I mean, we talked about Phoenix, what they potentially could do at that 10th pick. What are the Pelicans looking to do at 7? Because we know CJ McCollum, they make the trade today. They've been flirting this idea about Zion. Would he be there long term? Brandon Ingram. What do you think they need at their pick? And what direction do you even feel that organization is going at this point? Because they had a lot of young talent that's just never materialized.
I think actually if Derek Queen is available, I'd go there. I like that for them. I mean, they're in a full rebuild. You could give them some reps. What do you think?
Well, they're moving on from CJ to go into the front court with Queen could make sense, but I still think they got to figure out what they're going to do with this Zion Brandon Ingram pairing. And so to bring Queen, into that,
to bring Queen with Zion is a little weird, right?
Yeah, it creates awkward lineups there. You could say go guard again. This is a very guard heavy draft, so you could go guard, but then it also becomes like it's got to be the right guard. I don't think there's any true point guards in this draft. These are all athletes. These are all combo guards. So to bring them into the mix, how is that any different than what they already have on their roster?
How about Malawak to be like a true center next to like a point Zion?
I mean, you could go that way, a 7-foot rim runner, and
Trey Johnson get more shooting.
Yeah, I mean, you get Malawak, and then obviously you're not really running offense for him. He's a hustle big.
Will Con Knuppel fall to 7? They're saying top 5 right now.
Yeah, Con Knuppel right now is projected top 5. I don't think something lets me know that if he's at number 5, Utah's taking him. He's not going past Utah.
Something lets me know.
Yeah, something lets me know. It's just a feel. It's just.
I see where you're going with that.
Yeah, no, but I just think, but I also think Danny Ainge would love a player like Con Knuppel there. I don't think he would let Con Knuppel pass that spot.
Yeah, then they'll trade for Cooper somehow, and then they'll figure it all out.
Nah, they don't need to trade for Cooper. They got other guys there.
Okay.
They got Walker Kessler. They got a bunch of guys there. They don't need Cooper right now.
You know what would be nice for the Knicks? I don't know the money. Colin Sexton.
They floated that idea, and
I haven't heard that idea. I thought I was the only one, but I like the idea.
I've heard it in the past. I didn't hear it this offseason yet.
I mean, if he took those Miles McBride minutes somehow, I mean.
Well, Colin Sexton, Kobe White. If you could,
Kobe White's not realistic, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think Kobe is either. If you could upgrade the minutes of Miles McBride to one of those guys, yeah, but you're also upgrading a lot of money. Miles McBride makes sense for us because he's cheap right now.
Yeah. So is Colin Sexton on a big contract?
I believe he hits the market this year. He has a team. He has a team option, or he's outright free agent. The Knicks are going to have to get creative though, because I really think Josh Hart might have to get moved. And I love Josh Hart, but in order to upgrade, in order to find another shooter or a veteran point guard or a big,
but Josh Hart don't have as much value around the league than he does for the Knicks. That's the problem. His
best fit is with us because he's allowed to be a hustle guy. But
and he's the Villanova thing. Like that's why Mikal that's why it was 5 draft picks for Mikal, because it was like the Nova thing. Like he has more value to the Knicks than anywhere else.
Well, we gave up the 5 picks because the Nets were trading in state. If the Nets were trading him somewhere else, they wouldn't have asked for in state. But they put a premium on it because it was the Knicks.
Every team tries to get the most they can. I mean,
of course, but in that situation, when you're like, we're going to ship them across to Manhattan, and we already know the Knicks are going to be a good team, and now we got to live with that in our face for the next couple of years. There's no way we're just sending them over there for 2 draft picks. We're going to try to increase the value and to see how bad the Knicks want them.
No, that's fair.
We paid a premium for him. I like Bridges. I'm okay with the move. I mean, it's excessive, but at the same time, we just saw Desmond Bane go for 4 picks.
Well, Desmond Bane's better than Mikal Bridges.
He's better than Mikal Bridges, but I think Orlando is going to regret that move later on.
Really? I think he's a perfect fit there.
Short term, yeah. So my thinking on it is short term, it makes perfect sense for Orlando, but Orlando has a history of not being able to keep their star players. And when you're talking 4 unprotected picks, those picks in 2028, 2030, when Paolo may not be there, those become tricky picks. Those are completely unprotected.
They think they can win right now, though, with the way the East is.
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's why I say short term, it makes perfect sense. If you're Orlando, short term, this makes great sense, especially now. Halliburton goes down. And I hate to say this too, because when he went down, my first thought was like, this fucking sucks that it's happening in this moment, in this stage. I put aside my hatred for the Pacers and Tyrese Halliburton in that moment combo. But with the East the way it looks next year, Halliburton's down. He's probably going to miss the whole season. Tatum's going to miss 80% of the season. Dame is going to miss most of the regular season.
Tatum might not play the whole season. Yeah,
possibly. They may even take the safest approach and not bring him back at all. But you're talking about 3 of the major teams that we expect to be a player in the East: Milwaukee, Boston, Indiana, all dealing with major injuries. The odds right now, Cavs and the Knicks are heavy favorites to win the East, one of those 2 teams, and then it's a drop. So if you're the Magic, you feel like you're in the mix. If you're the Magic, you're playing in the division with the Wizards, with the Heat, with the Hornets. You should be able to win that division pretty easily. And the Hawks, I think, are in that division. You should be able to win that division pretty easily and get a top 3 seed. And then you see how it plays out in the playoffs. My only concern for Orlando, and I'm glad we're talking about this because I wanted to ask you about Memphis side of things. 2028, 2030, when those picks are unprotected, if you don't have Paolo locked up, those become premium picks at that point for Memphis. Because I could see Orlando being in a situation where they're not good 3 years from now because they went all in right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you try and win a championship now and you think about all that later.
Correct. That's what they're doing.
Because I believe that the NBA is not even about positions anymore. And with 2-point forward players, type players like Paulo and Franz, I mean, he's a perfect fit. Like the NBA is about meshing skill sets and tendencies. And I feel like he's just perfect there because of the way he shoots the basketball. That team desperately needed shooting and they desperately needed secondary creation, and he provides that. And he's tough enough to hold up on defense to fit that identity on that side of the floor as well. For
Orlando, like I said, short term, I love it. Defensively, they're good. They're going to be in the mix. They're going to be a good team. That's what they needed the most. They needed the spacing. They needed the shooting.
I think now they should go after either Duncan Robinson, Klay Thompson, or Jordan Hawkins because they need one more movement shooter.
Duncan Robinson, Klay Thompson, or Jordan Hawkins.
All at different points of their career.
Yeah.
But that would put them over the top. And I think they could win a championship with that team.
Because they're so young, do you think, like you said, different points of their career, do they need more of the veteran presence like Klay? Or do they need the younger player like Jordan Hawkins? Because I would lean more Klay just because you would want that veteran in that locker room.
I would actually lean. Yeah, I guess Jordan Hawkins would probably be my third option. I think it would be like Klay, Duncan, and Jordan Hawkins. Yeah. But Jordan Hawkins could help. I mean, when he plays, he does well. When he gets opportunity, he does well. You know.
I agree. I'm just thinking from the standpoint because I'm using that kind of OKC as a reference. Last year, OKC was too young. This year, they add Caruso. You see the minutes and the production that Caruso gives you, and what he does, I don't think could be kind of like put in a stat sheet. Right. It's magnified on a different level. And to a lesser extent, kind of same thing with Isaiah Hartenstein. To get veterans in that could help you. So I think Klay in Orlando for that reason. Klay's is never going to be Game 6 Klay again, but just that veteran presence being in that locker room probably helps you more than a younger player who's never been there.
Yeah, I also feel like Ihart and Caruso will never be the player Klay is, but they're more intangible guys and they do more of that hidden stuff that you're talking about. I don't know if Klay's that guy. Like, I don't know if he's super intangible, leader in the locker room type guy.
Okay.
He seems kind of like he seems a little aloof. Like he's in his own. He's in his own world a little bit.
He's one of them weird artist type guys.
He's like a Cali, like Cali dude, laid back. Yeah.
Since we're talking to Bay trade, I want to ask you Memphis because I personally feel that they're going to probably blow this whole thing up. There's been rumors of Jaren Jackson, and he's a dream.
Oh, really? So you think they're trading Ja?
I do. I think
Brooklyn?
Taylor Jenkins
Maybe
getting
Brooklyn?
I think Brooklyn is the ideal spot. Brooklyn's looking to rebuild, and they need a face.
Yeah. I mean, they're going with Cam Thomas now for the guy who's going to fill the seat. So Ja would be Ja would be a better option for that. Even though I like Cam, but he got to get better in a lot of different areas. But he could ISO score like anybody, man. That guy could really score, Cam. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it'd be good for Brooklyn.
I think it'd be great for Brooklyn.
Yeah.
They need
Ja Morant, especially like if he starts the season strong, I mean, that could put butts in seats.
Yeah, that's what they need. But I do think they're blowing it up. Firing Taylor Jenkins the way they did at the end of the season. Now you're moving on from Desmond Bane. There's already been the rumblings about Jaren Jackson. I think Ja or Jaren Jackson, one of them is gone. Jaren Jackson's due for a contract extension after this upcoming season. So they're going to have to make some tough decisions there anyway with their roster and what direction they want to go. I think Ja's gone.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised after the Bane trade.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of shows that they might be going in a different direction. But then some people out of Memphis are saying they're just trying to retool around JJJ and Ja, but that could just be like a leverage thing, Like we don't really want to give them up, Yeah.
We don't really, but if you give us a great
I mean,
offer,
like, look, I said, like, once a team starts saying they're not trading somebody, it probably means they're trading them. That happened with Julius Randle.
Right.
Like that happens with everybody. We're not firing our coach, they're about to fire him.
One more player I want to ask you about in the draft. He's probably going to go late first round, but he had a great tournament. Walter Clayton Jr.
Yeah, I mean,
he's right now projected to go in the 20s. What do you think of his game? He's an older player as well because
he's undersized, but he can really score it. He can score that basketball. I see 6-man vibes with him. Could be a good 6-man. It's tough defensively in the NBA at his size.
Right. Again, another undersized guard there.
Yeah. 6-man. I mean, he's gonna I think he'll get a job.
Yeah, like I said, he's gonna go. He's projected to go late first round. I think he will go somewhere in the 20s. He's too much. It's too much talent there to pass up, especially at that point in the draft. Lottery is too high, but when you get into the 20s and you're talking teams that are playoff caliber teams that would love to just add quality depth like that, you're not passing up on that talent.
Right. I mean, and the March Madness bump is real. So all those GMs got to watch him play right in front of their face and do it on the biggest stage, and that always helps. So one of the best players in college basketball, right?
Right. So, he had a great year. He had a great year. Like I say, he's an older guy, a little more mature than some of the other guys we talked about who kind of reclassified and coming out early. All these guys will be at Summer League. I know you've been there every year for the last few years. Will you be there again this year?
I'll be there.
Combo will be out there in Vegas, man. You out there for the whole week?
I'll be there I'll be there 3 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Combo, before we wrap up, tell me some of the things you got going on right now. And then again, remind the people where they can find you, man.
Combo's Court, wherever you listen to pods. 12 Combo on Instagram. That's ONETWOCOMBO. I got the He's With Us show, a debate show. I'm doing a lot of appearances at different places like Power 105.1, SNY TV. I'm all over, man. I just love broadcasting, and I'm just continuing to do it bigger and better every year. So, it's been a fun ride, and I'm looking forward to continuing it. But you didn't ask me my sleeper, even though I mentioned it.
Yeah, that's right. You give me a sleeper every year. Who's your sleeper in this draft? Every year you give me one before.
Yeah, Igor Dedman, Russian kid, Russian out of BYU. I think he's the best passer in the draft. I think he processes the game like a Luka Doncic and a Jokic. The shooting has to get better. The defense has to get better. But I believe at 6'9" with point guard skills, I would take him anywhere after 10 if I was one of those teams. But he won't go there. He'll go late in the first round. But I think because the stats aren't eye-popping and he didn't shoot it this year, he's going to drop. But the best passer in the draft, and I think he's going to be an absolute sleeper and a great player in the NBA. And he's one of the youngest guys in the draft, too. He's on the younger side, which helps, too.
All right, so we're gonna keep a lookout for him and see where he lands. Combo, as always, I greatly appreciate you, my brother. And as like I said, guys, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Combo's Court. We're going to touch base with him at some point this season. Probably after Summer League, I'm going to reach out to you see what your thoughts was, how everything was going on out there. And then when I come up to the city, I got to get with you as well. Trip and I got some stuff we're working on at Rucker Park, so I got to let you know so we can get up with you.
Let me know, man. I'd love to pull up with the Rucker, man.
Shout out to Will Gordon. He's a Wizards fan. He put Derek Queen as the steal of the draft. He feels he got cat potential, minus the glitter.
Potential. Hold the glitter. Cat's a funny guy, man. That's interesting. Okay. I feel like Cat got a better first step. He attacks closeouts better, but Queen is the better passer, better processor of the game. But I'm not mad at it. Cat's also a little bigger. Cat's like a legit 7-footer.
Yeah.
But he don't shoot it, and he don't shoot it like Cat. It's another thing.
Yeah, Cat. I think Cat was offensively was more polished coming in, but I mean, Derek Queen is super young though, bro.
How about Şengün? He's like Şengün a little bit.
I mean, that would be a great comp too. Şengün is a really good player. That's an all-star caliber player.
100%. I think he's more like a Şengün.
So I mean, you get Queen, and he tends up being Şengün. That's a great pick.
100%. He could be that.
Yeah. Combo. I know you've been getting into boxing a little bit more too, man. Canelo Crawford. What do you think?
I got Canelo, man. Canelo 5th round knockout.
Ooh, 5th round.
Yeah, watch it happen.
But now you got to tell me why you got 5th round.
I'm pulling it from the gods.
That's just the feel you get that the 5th
round. Why you think it's going to go a lot longer than that, don't you?
Yeah, I think Canelo breaks him down, and then late in the fight, he might put him down. I could see a 10th round, or if it goes decision. I think he's just going to work the body of Crawford. Early on, Crawford's going to try to use the footwork and the speed. Canelo will break him down with the body work, and when they get into the later rounds, the difference in weight is what's really going to hurt Crawford.
So you don't think the difference in weight could hurt him early with the power?
No, because I think early as Crawford still has fresh legs, he's going to stay away from the power. And he's gonna try, in my opinion, I think he's gonna try to use the Floyd game plan against Canelo. Okay. Distance, speed, jab, keep everything on the outside.
Make him frustrated.
But Canelo's too smart at this point in his career. He's not gonna frustrate Canelo. And Canelo is gonna slowly and methodically start to break him down. I think in the 4th, 5th, 6th round is when you're gonna see the body work really start to take toll, because once Canelo starts to cut off the ring a little bit on him, he's gonna work the body. Then the legs are going to get heavy. And then I think late in the fight is when Canelo's really going to be able to unleash a little bit of power on him.
What do you think Canelo's biggest strength is?
I mean,
in boxing, not even in this matchup, just in boxing, just him as a boxer.
I think he's a high IQ fighter. I think his biggest strength is that he hits like a heavyweight, but he's a smaller guy.
That's why I'm telling you, 5th round. That's what I'm trying.
But if you look at Canelo's track record, a lot of guys stay away from Canelo early in the fight to avoid the power. It's Canelo does a lot of his big work late.
I think the law of averages. He's supposed to knock out a lot of guys early, and this is the one.
I mean, Crawford's a great fighter, man. I just think the weight is too much, though. Going up 2 weight classes is way too much.
That's what I'm saying.
For this level of fighter. Like, people have tried to use the Roy Jones comparison.
Pause. That neck is not going to hold up against that power.
Yeah.
Man. Once he gets...
But I've heard people try to use like, Roy Jones went up in weight. Yeah, but Roy Jones fought John Ruiz, who had no power.
Roy Jones is the greatest YouTube watch in the history of boxing. The Roy Jones mixes on YouTube are phenomenal.
I mean, they're great. I'm trying to think of who else is like somebody you just put them on YouTube and it's like they look great. But Roy was great anyway, though.
Of course, I'm not trying to diminish.
But I know what you mean, like just the highlight.
Yeah, just like the highlights.
His mixtape, Roy Jones mixtape, is one of the best.
It's like probably Kyrie's probably the best mix, like the best mixtape guy. Like if you want to just watch highlights.
White Chocolate. Jason Williams to me is the best.
Jason Williams over Kyrie though.
Just in terms of highlights.
I actually like Prime LeBron highlights. The way that dude moved.
I mean, LeBron was amazing.
Jamal Crawford's a great highlight guy.
Yeah, great highlight guy as well.
Yeah.
Now we're going down this rabbit hole of highlights and all that. I know you've heard Brandon Jennings try to call out Steph and call out guys on a 1v1.
I feel like Brandon Jennings does too much.
Clickbait.
Well, that whole thing is about that. I mean, their whole ghost. I respect it. I mean, they're kind of like the Vlad TV of basketball. No, seriously, like I bet, and Gilbert Arenas is like a guy who took, like, kind of like me, like he took what he did in basketball and he got obsessive about this art form now, which is content creation. and I think he does a great job. But he knows what he's doing. It's entertainment more than anything, you know.
It definitely is, because I love how he has criticized the '90s era, but when he was at Fanatics Fest, he had Michael Jordan still as the top guy on most of his lists.
Well, you could say the '90s weren't as good as now, but Michael Jordan would still be your best player.
I know, but if you're gonna knock the competition, but then still say that guy was the best, isn't it contradictory?
No, not if you were this that much better than everybody else, because the gap in Jordan between the rest of the league was ridiculous. It's way bigger than like Jokic in the rest of the league now, right? Or anytime.
It's probably the biggest gap we've ever had.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like Jordan had the biggest gap from the second player than any time in NBA history, right?
Probably. We would have to go further back to see what.
Like maybe George Mikan.
George Mikan, prime Wilt, like was the gap that large between Wilt and everybody else?
He was averaging 50.
Right.
Yeah.
But I like I said, I just found that ironic, because it's like you're knocking the competition and the players of that era, but then still saying, but that is still the best guy. But as we mentioned, it's all for clicks, it's all for the attention. But in a 1v1 matchup, give me a scenario. Give me two guys you would love to see in a 1v1.
Kevin Durant and Michael Beasley.
The friends battling it out?
That'd be interesting.
What about Melo and Michael Beasley?
Michael Beasley will beat him right now because he's playing more basketball than Melo.
Right.
Yeah. If you gave time for Melo to get in shape, I'd still edge Beasley, actually. Beasley's tough one-on-one.
Who would you 1v1 from the sports media space?
Stephen A. I'd cook Stephen A.
I know you would.
I'd cook Stephen A.
Combo, my brother, I appreciate it, man. We're going to get up with you real soon, man. And we wish you much continued success. You're doing your thing and keep doing it out here.
Thanks, E. It's always great talking sports with you, man. Whenever you need me, I'm here, bro.
Appreciate it, man. Listen, for my brother, Andrew Salop, a.k.a. Combo, host of Combo's Court. I am Eric Sanchez, a.k.a. Legend in 2 Games. We are out of here. And again, we will be back live tomorrow night at 7:30 during the NBA draft, man. Enjoy the rest of your night, guys.